So how do you do problems like this? Discuss the continuity of each function. So when you think back to domain that you did back in Algebra 2 and pre-calculus, that's exactly what this is, actually. So when is it going to be undefined for the first one? Well, x cannot be 0. So it's discontinuous at 0. Now, what type of discontinuity does it have? Well, it has an asymptote, right? Think back to what this graph looks like, 1 over x. It's got an asymptote. So we'll go ahead and name them. So that's an infinite discontinuity at x equals 0, because that's where it has its asymptote. So this is a lot of picturing the graphs. You got to think back to what these graphs would look like. So now b, that x minus 1 is going to cancel, right? Because you can factor this top, x plus 1, x minus 1. So then the x minus 1s cancel, and it's just x plus 1. So it's just a line, but it's got a hole, right? There that it canceled, because the original function, you still can't plug in x equals 1. So it's got a hole, which is a removable discontinuity at x equals 1, because that's where it's got its hole. All right, so C, so we got two polynomials. So polynomials are always continuous, so we don't have to worry about them. The only part we have to worry about is where it switches over. We've got to make sure that at x equals 0, because that's where it switches from one function to the other. We got to make sure that both functions are the same at x equals 0. That way it can do a clean jump from one function to the other. So all we have to do is we have to plug in 0 for both of them. We have to see in the top function, 0 plus 1, it's going to be 1. So from the left side coming in, it's going to be 1. Plug in 0 to the next one, 0 squared plus 1 is also 1. So from the right side, it's going to be 1. So these two functions line up. This is continuous. That's a continuous function. And then D, sine of x, you just know what that graph looks like. That's also continuous. The sine graph is continuous everywhere. So that's what it is. When you're discussing continuity, it's the same as like domain, and you just got to think about what the graphs look like. What is x not allowed to be? Because that's going to be where it's discontinuous.